Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla acknowledges investigative lapses in the handling of the death of former Department of Public Works and Highways Undersecretary Catalina Cabral. Cabral was implicated in anomalous flood control projects. As DPWH Undersecretary for Planning and Public-Private Partnerships, Cabral oversaw the agency's infrastructure planning and programming, as well as the PPP projects that the department implements. In a press briefing on Friday, December 19, Remulla says the site where Cabral's body was found should have been treated as a crime scene. He says that evidence, including her cell phone and other gadgets, should not have been released to the family before complete documentation.
Well, any death of that nature is considered a crime scene. So there must be extensive investigation first before any and all information is released. However, tinurnover kagad sa pamilya yung katawan. There is a mandatory holding period na para makita ang lahat, and there were lapses in that sa nangyari.
Remulla says police are seeking to retrieve Cabral's cell phone and other electronic devices from her family for forensic analysis. He adds that access to her computers will require a subpoena from the Office of the Ombudsman, the Sandigan Bayan, or the National Bureau of Investigation. Authorities have ordered an autopsy and DNA testing to establish the cause and manner of death and to confirm identity, despite the family's positive identification. Remulla says investigators want to eliminate all possibilities, including what he describes as potential budol or deception scenarios. Initial reports indicate no foul play, but Remulla stresses that findings are preliminary. Remulla says Cabral was last seen asking her driver to drop her off along Cannon Road to inspect something, a routine move according to the driver. She was later found at the bottom of a ravine around 8 p.m. on Thursday. He says there were no CCTV cameras in the area, which is prone to landslides. According to Remulla, the driver and others who were with Cabral before her death are being treated persons of interest pending completion of the autopsy and witness interviews. A full report is expected within 24 hours after all procedures are completed. He says there were no reported threats against Cabral before her death and no indications she was suicidal. Although he acknowledges stress linked to the ongoing corruption probe could not be ruled out. Remulla says Cabral's death will not halt the investigation.
The Ombudsman and the DOJ are actively pursuing all leads and all players in this flood corruption scandal. So far, she has been tagged as one of the suspects dito. The suspect was one of the masterminds in the flood control scandal. As Usec for planning, siya nagsasabi kasi kung ano ang kailangan gawin. Siya nag-a-approve. So, siya ang naglagay kung saan pwede maglagay ang pera. Siya nagsasabi kung sino ang approved projects. So, kasama siya ni Usec Bernardo sa nag-a-approve ng lahat niyan. Tuloy pa rin yun. May money trail at evidence trail pa rin nahabulin eh. Titignan pa rin yung assets niya, kung nagmamatch yung assets sa income. Titignan yung cash flow. Tignan na ng link kung saan dumaan ang pera, kung magkano dumaan sa kanya. At doon ang magiging subject ng civil forfeiture ng gobyerno sa kanya.
Philippine National Police Acting Chief Jose Melencio Nartatas Jr. says investigators are working to recover all pieces of evidence, including Cabral's cell phone, to dispel speculation of her cover-up. Nartatas says police officers involved would be reminded of proper procedures, including securing vehicles and items found at or near a crime scene. Malacanang assures President Bongbong Marcos will make sure to carefully study the proposed 2026 national budget before signing it by the end of the year. The Senate and House of Representatives is expected to ratify the budget on December 29, which is a week later from the original target date of December 22. At a briefing on Friday, December 19, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says there will be no Christmas and New Year break for the President as he carefully goes through the budget bill.
Ang nais po talaga ng Pangulo ay mapirmahan ito bago magtapos ng taon. So kung dapat aralin, kung hindi magkakaroon ng tulugan, walang tulugan, gagawin po yan. Pero ang gustong sabihin ng Pangulo, ang tinitiyak niya, bago siya pumirma, dapat na aral po itong mabuti na bosisi at kung may kailangang i-veto, i-veto. Kailangan pag-aralan po, sa Pangulo po, di po kailangan magkaroon ng Christmas break, kailangan po talagang aralin ito at pipilitin na mapirmahan po ito bago magtapos ng taon.
Despite the limited time to review the measure, Castro knows that Marcos will ensure the proposed budget is aligned with the administration's priorities and will benefit the Filipino people.
Nung una po talaga ay inaasahan ng Pangulo na mas maaga ang pagsasubmit ng kopya ng enrolled bill. Sa pagkakataong ito, pipilitin po ng Pangulo, pipilitin po na maaral mabuti at mapirmahan po ang 2026 national budget bago magtapos po ang taon. Pero ang tinitiyak po ng Pangulo ay aralin, matutukan, mabusisi ang nasabing enrolled bill at matiyak na ang mga nakalagay dito ay naaayon sa prioridad ng administrasyon, isang malinis, makatao at nakatuon ang mga bills na to, or rather ang mga provision dito para sa taong bayan.
In an ambush interview early Thursday, December 18, Senator Wing Gatchalian said that both chambers of Congress agreed to ratify and transmit the proposed 2026 national budget to Marcos for signing on December 29. The Senate and House were scheduled to adjourn their sessions on December 19, but this had been adjusted to December 23 to facilitate the passage of the budget. The session will now be adjourned on December 29 due to a change in the budget process timeline. Delays occurred after a deadlock during the BICAM meetings was reached due to miscalculations in budget cuts of the Department of Public Works and Highways. The Philippine National Police is calling on the co-accused of controversial contractor Sarah Discaya to surrender as it launches a nationwide manhunt for them. This comes after the National Bureau of Investigation nabbed Discaya following the issuance of an arrest warrant against her. Discaya and 9 others face graft and malversation charges filed by the Office of the Ombudsman over a 96.5 million peso flood control project in Davao Occidental, which was fully paid for but never built. In a statement on Friday, December 19, PNP Acting Chief Lieutenant General Jose Malencio Nortates Jr. says Discaya's co-accused should spare themselves the risks of playing hide-and-seek with law enforcement agencies. Nortates adds that police are already coordinating with the NBI to serve the arrest warrants issued by a local court against the remaining accused. He further stresses that nothing will come of hiding because he is confident Discaya's co-accused will be caught sooner or later. In line with this, Nortates appeals to the family and friends of the 9 other co-accused to refrain from providing any form of assistance to any of them in order to avoid legal troubles. The Ombudsman filed graft and malversation charges against Discaya, the president of her construction company, and 8 Department of Public Works and Highways officials. The Ombudsman accused Discaya and the others of conspiring to facilitate the release of the payment for the construction of a concrete revetment or retaining wall at Barangay Culaman in Davao Occidental's Jose Abad Santos town. The project was awarded to St. Timothy Construction Corporation on January 22, 2022 and marked completed on October 2, 2022. However, based on the government's official inspection and accounts of its witnesses, it was never implemented. The PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group inspected the site and reported that civil works for the project only started after the flood control issue had gone public. The Ombudsman's panel of prosecutors recommended no bail for the malversation case against Discaya and the others. Former Department of Public Works and Highways Bulacan District Engineer Henry Alcantara turns over to the Department of Justice the second tranche of the 300 million peso flood control project kickbacks. Acting Justice Secretary Frederick Vidas says Alcantara handed over 71.3 million pesos to the government on Friday, December 19. Last November, Alcantara surrendered 110 million pesos as the first tranche of the 300 million pesos promised to be returned. With the turnover of more than 71 million pesos as the second tranche, Alcantara has already surrendered around 181.3 million pesos. Still, Alcantara must turn over the remaining amount of about 118.6 million pesos to comply with the Memorandum of Agreement he signed with the DOJ's Witness Protection Program. Prosecutor General Richard Anthony Fadolion explains that the full amount cannot be returned immediately due to legal complications. He says some of the accounts containing the funds are subject to freeze orders issued by the Court of Appeals.
We will definitely make sure na yung kung ano yung nakalagay sa Memorandum of Agreement, no, na amount na isusulit, may solid nila sa taklang panahon. Binigyan namin ito noong nakaraan, may solid ng 40 million, na hindi naman ito kasi nangangahulugan na obligasyon na solid mo lahat, no, nung kailangan mong restitute agad-agad. Dahil sa kailangan natin unawain na meron silang mga accounts, no, like Mr. Alcantara, that are included in the freeze orders issued by the Court of Appeals. So it will really take a while before they will be able to get the money.
Alcantara has been granted provisional admission to the Witness Protection Program, which means he will receive government protection. But by cooperating, Fadolion says Alcantara now qualifies as a state witness. Under Republic Act 6981, upon full compliance with the Memorandum of Agreement, the respondent may no longer be excluded from being indicted if the case or cases he will testify on are still with the DOJ. If the case is already with the courts, the prosecutor will ask the court to exclude the potential witness from the charges and be discharged as a state witness. Alcantara was the first to turn over to the government the cash received from flood control kickbacks.